Hey everyone, Mel here from Sewing with Mel, and today I am doing a tutorial on how to design and stitch out this cute little Valentine's Day heart with batting in it and strips of fabric and pinked edges. So I'm doing this on the Luminaire in Design Center, okay? You can do this on any machine that has Design Center or IQ, all right? They're the same. So let's get started. Okay, let's get a better look at what this looks like. Okay, so it's padded. There's batting in there. And I just did that fabric on the back because this is my test. Okay, but all of these came from one of those Moda bags where you just get the strips. They're not jelly roll strips, they're just the end cuts. So it works well to use that kind of thing. Okay, put a little ribbon in there. Just cut the edge with pinking shears. Super cute. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use a design that is already in the machine and not in my design center. Okay, so see these right here. See that heart? See all the shapes? Go to the heart. Now these hearts are all the same size. Okay, so if I put this one on top of this one, on top of this one, and all the way through, they'd all lay on top of each other. They're the same size. This one right here is just a single stitch all the way around, okay? And that's the one that we're going to choose. Set. All right. The second thing we're going to do here is, this is actually pretty small. If you look up here, it's 2.5 by 3. Okay, that's pretty little. Let's make it bigger, okay? So we're going to go into Edit and Size. Now, remember, smaller all the way around, bigger all the way around, okay? Let's make it bigger all the way around. And now it's a little too big. It's bigger than the one I made. Let's bring it down and make it smaller. Let's go. That looks good. That's about 4 by 5. That's about how big this one is. Okay. So let's get out of Edit and say okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a stamp. Okay. So a stamp, which is this key right here, we're going to make a stamp of this, which is really just a drawn outline, okay? And we can do that by using this key, and it will save it in my Design Center, okay? So let's do that. It's now a stamp, okay? So I have it set at 0, which means it's right on the line, okay? Don't have it on the inside. If you push inside, it makes a double row, okay? We don't want to do that, so turn that off. All right, now we're going to hit memory and that will save it. Recall from my Design Center stamp pattern list. So when we get to my Design Center, we're going to look for this key right here, okay? That's our stamps and our shapes and stuff, all right? So let's get out of that. Now, before we do anything else, we want to save this heart that we made this particular size in our machine's memory, okay? So how do we do that? Memory. Then go to the machine and save it, okay? It's in there now. Now, the bummer about doing it all on the machine is that you can't name it anything like Heart 1 or Heart 2 or Heart Practice or whatever we name things when we're working on stuff. The only way you're going to know is it's the last thing you saved, okay? So now the machine does give it a name, it gives it a number, so you could actually go to memory and find it in there and it'll have a number. So if you want to write down that number, you can. I'll show it to you here in a little bit. So now that we've saved that, that's all we're doing in this particular screen. So let's get out of it. Let's go to Home. And it's going to say, you want to get rid of it? Yes, I do. And then we're going to go to My Design Center. All right. Now, what are we looking for? We're looking for the stamp of that heart that we just made. There's our shapes. There's our stamp icon. And it's not in here because this isn't where we saved it. Okay, this is all the stuff that's in the machine. All right. There's the stamp key. And there it is. Now I've been playing with it, so there's other ones saved. These, you can't delete them. They just fall off as more and more go. They just get more and then they fall off down here. So I know that this is the last one that I saved. So let's use it and say okay. All right. Now, at this moment, this is just an outline. Okay, it doesn't do anything. And honestly, we don't want it to do anything. We're using it as the base for making our stitching lines to stitch down our fabric. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is make sure that this outline does not get sewn. We can see it on the screen, but it's not going to get sewn. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Perfect. All right, so here are your line properties. These are your fill properties. Remember, we want to change these line properties because right now it's going to set. If I assign it to here, it would satin stitch all of this, and we don't want it to do that. So let's check something really quick. I made it real big. Let's use the hand, bring it down, and let's look at the line. All right, so at this moment, it's not assigned anything, and it would not be sewn. If you look at them really close, you can see that it looks like checkerboards in there. That's the no sew. But let's make sure that it's no sew. Let's go up here to our line properties. See all of these right here? This is no sew. Let's click it and go over here. See, this means no sew. Let's make sure, and then touch the bucket and touch that. Okay, it did not change. So that tells me, yes, it is. I'm kind of looking at it from far away as usual, right? Even though I'm wearing my glasses today with the bifocals in it, it's still a little difficult to see. So, okay, so now we already know that that is not going to be sewn. Let's get it back up here in the middle where we can see it good. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to draw these lines that stitch down each part of the fabric. This, okay? So how are we going to draw a line? Well, if you just choose that and go up in here, this allows you to make a free form line. And it honestly, it's hard to draw a straight line. Well, they know that if we choose that, that makes it so that we can start at one point, come down here, move it wherever we want to, and it will make a perfectly straight line, okay? Now, this we do want to stitch. So let's take it off of no sew, and we're gonna put it on the straight stitch, and that's what that is. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the option to just stitch one time around the heart, okay? It has to stitch two. This is the triple bean stitch. I know it looks like they're next to each other. They're not. They're on top of each other. Let's pick this one because that's what we get to choose from. And I'm going to make each line a different color so I don't get them mixed up. So let's make a green line first. Let's say okay. Now, make sure my stylus is ready to go. If I look at this, how I did this one before, I started my line about right there. Now, you can move these later, so don't put too much importance on making them perfect in this screen, okay? We can do it in edit after we make a design out of it, okay? So let's start about right here, and it can be longer, just like that, okay? It doesn't matter if it sticks past this part because you're gonna cut all around it anyway, okay? And you'll get it, you'll see what I'm talking about when you make this. All right, so there's the first one. Now, it's still just a line because we haven't told it what we want it to be. We just drew a line. Here's where we tell it what we want it to be, which we did. We want it to be green and we want it to be a straight stitch. So choose your bucket and then touch the line. Let's make it bigger so you guys can see what I did. There it is. See, it's green. Okay? Huge. All right, let's put it back. And you always have to re-choose what you were doing. All right, so there's the first one. And here's where we come to what I was saying about it's digitizing, but it's not digitizing. If I went ahead and put all the lines in there and then saved it as an embroidery design, it would be one step to make all those lines. It puts everything together. We want the lines to be separate steps so that it stitches a line and stops. Okay, and then you put your other fabric on, it'll stitch another line and stop. If we put all the lines on there right now and then save it, it'll just keep stitching and you'll have to stop the machine yourself. And you don't want to do that. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and make this a step all by itself. So let's save it in memory, put it in there, okay? Save a lot. You'll be happy that you did, because if you don't, once you get out of this screen, you have to start all over again, and we don't want to do that. All right, so that has now been saved. Let's go to next. All right, so if you want to, you can change how far apart your stitches are on this. And honestly, that's pretty close together, okay? So you can change it if you want to. I'm going to leave it just for easiness here, okay? So we like it the way it is. Set. It's going to be converted to an embroidery pattern, okay? So yep, say okay. All right, now it's just a line, right? There's no heart, there's nothing else, it's just a line. Now that it has gone over into the embroidery edit screen, you need to save it again, okay? Memory, sewing machine, okay, it's in there. All right, and now we're gonna go back. Yep, go back into my design center. Go to your pocket and looky there. There it is. This is a working file, okay? You can change this. That's why it's a different file format, okay? And it's back to normal. Let's make it a little bit bigger so we can work on it. Didn't do it, did I? Let's try again. There we go. All right, now let's make a second line. How did we do the first line? Look, it's back to that. That's kind of the default. Let's go back here, choose the line, choose the stitches. Let's make it a different color. Let's make it blue so you can see the different colors. All right, next, let's make another line. And on this one, you can tell I started about right here. And it said no. And it still said no. Sometimes styluses work and sometimes they don't. All right, that looks pretty good. Now, like I said, don't be upset if this one's a little crooked, or if when you get done they're not spaced. It doesn't matter. You're just making the lines. That's all you care about. All right, now let's go ahead and actually, we don't want this one on here anymore because we only want this one now. So let's go down here to select and use the wand, and we are going to select this. See if it'll work. I can just go like that. There we go. That's the first line. We don't want it on there anymore, okay? Let's get rid of it. Cut and close. Now we just have this line, and that's all we want, right? Save it to your memory so you don't have to start over, and then go to next. All right, see? 1. Okay, go ahead and set it. Yes. There's your second line. It's just a line with nothing around it. Save it to your memory. And now we're done with that. Let's do it again. Cancel. Go to My Design Center. Go to your pocket. Here's the second one. See, there's the first one we saved. There's the second one. You need it so that you can kind of see where you're going, so that you can see what you drew before. All right, make it bigger. Let's do another line. Go back in here. Line, stitching. Let's make it red. Okay. Let's try again. Where's my third line? Right about here. Okay, looks good. All right, now what do? We get rid of this line because we don't need it anymore. Okay, otherwise it'll save both lines. Let's choose it. Select it, I mean. Use your wand. Select. The box is just around that and get rid of it. Cut. Close this. Save it in your memory. Go to Next. And go to Set. Yes. Okay. Again, save it in your memory. All right. I know it sounds like I'm saving it in the memory a lot, but honestly, you're saving it in different places. Okay. Memory. Then, one more time, get out of it. I know, right? How many times are we going to do this, Mel? 1, 2, 3, 4 times. We have 4 lines. My Design Center. Pocket. There it is. These, you can pick them and delete them. In the other one, you can't. The other screen. All right. 200%. Let's draw our last line. Line properties. Line. Stitching. And how about orange? Okay. Where's the last one? Right along the edge. Let's see here. Nope. Sometimes my thing works and sometimes it does not. All right. I'm going to go like that with that one so I can show you how we fix that later, okay? So let's keep it. Get rid of that. Wand. Touch it. It's selected. Cut it. Close. Now we don't need to save this one in our memory because we're kind of done with those, all right? So just go to Next. There it is. We don't need to save it in the memory. Set. It's the last thing. Let's see, memory, machine. All right. So now we want to start completely over. I know that sounds weird, doesn't it? But we're going to start completely over. Back home. Say okay. And just go to embroidery. All right. Go to your pocket where you saved the first heart. Okay. You want to add things in the order that they will be stitched out. If you just add them willy-nilly, it's not going to work right because you need them to stitch out in a certain order. Let's bring that in and set it. Okay, this is the original heart that you made and you made it a certain size, right? Now, in the hoop stuff, there's a placement stitch, there's a tack down stitch, and sometimes then there's another stitch. It's all the same stitch, you're just doing it over several times. We don't need to add those into our design because it's much easier just to push a button and go backwards and use the same stitch over. So if you want to be picky about it, you make one of these and then add another one of these as a placement, do a placement stitch, then add another one as a tack down stitch. I'm not going to do that. We're trying to do this as simply as we possibly can. Okay, so Now let's add to it. In the pocket, this is the first one that we did. Remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do this one and set. There's your first line, okay? Add, pocket. Here's the second one. Set. Look, there's your second line. 1, 2. Add, pocket. Third one. Set. Add, pocket. Fourth one. Set. All right. So now, yep, crooked, messed up. Okay. So now, if you want to, you can go ahead and select one of these and kind of move them around and make them look right. Okay, so let's select this line right here. All right. Here's our heart. First line, second line. All you got to do is touch it over here on the Luminaire anyway. Select it, and we want to move it. Okay. So sure, I can move it with my finger, or you can go to move and simply scoot it over that way. That looks a little bit better. See, a little bit better. Now, really, to me, this bottom edge could come up just a tad. Okay, so get out of that, go to rotate, and look at your things right here. How would you make that kick out that way? Well, the whole thing's got to kick out, all right? Your arrow needs to go that way. Just do it one at a time. Honestly, that might have been all it needed. Let's try it again. Ooh, I like that. Okay. Or maybe that. Let's leave it that way, okay? This one looks pretty good. This one does not. So let's go here and go back here. Go to the bottom one. That's now selected. All right, so let's go back here. We're going to rotate again. That bottom needs to go this way. So if this needs to go this way, this needs to go that way. That way. Getting a little straighter. Yeah, one more. Ooh, I like that. Okay. So now, if you look at it, if we're going to be picky, you could scoot that up a little bit. It's up to you. You don't have to be perfect about it if you don't want to. And honestly, I'm not going to mess with it too much. I kind of like how it looks. Looks pretty good. All right, so let's get out of that screen. Now, we're going to add one more thing to this, okay? Add. Go back to the original place where we got the heart. Pick the heart. You can put any of these on top of that, okay? I happen to like the blanket stitch, which is right there. Set. It's smaller, right? Well, that's because we made this bigger. So let's make that as big as that. So it is already selected. See the box around it? Go to Edit, Size, and let's make the heart match. Whoop, almost. Got it. Now that is the last part that gets sewn. Say okay, and then you can go to embroidery. Look at that. So if I go to here, and we can see each part. So it's going to stitch that first, then the first line, see, second line, third, fourth, and the stitch around the outside. Okay, that's all that there is to that. So let's move on and we'll stitch it out and I'll show you how that works. Before we get started, I wanted to say one more thing about these lines that we made. All right, so before I talked about if you made all of the lines in one step and saved them, that it wouldn't stop If you make them all different colors, it will stop so that you can change the color. But the problem is if you make them all over there and then bring them all over as one, you can't move any of them. Okay, and I find it easier to move them once they're in the edit page instead of over in Design Center. But you can do it either place. That's up to you. But I just wanted you to know that yes, if you make them different colors, it will stop so that you can change the color. Okay? All right, so I've got my hoop here. Now, because I know that this hoop, that this heart is right in the center of this, I'm just going to go ahead and tape my batting in there, knowing where my heart sits in there. Now, if you really want to know where the heart is, go ahead and stitch this first one out as a placement stitch, and then you can lay your batting on top of it. But then you'll have to back up, which is right here. This would be forwards, this would be backwards, okay? There is some backing up in here, so that is how you do it. So you can stitch that same part over again, okay? Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay, so because I know that it's smack in the middle and that this fits, I'm going to go ahead and tape my batting down and then stitch the heart on top of this batting, okay? So our next step is going to be that first line. So we're going to go ahead and stitch that line so that we know where to lay our first strip of fabric. Now, when we lay that first strip of fabric down, we want it to stitch that part again. So I am going to go back to my screen here. You can't see me do it, but I'm going to back up. See? Now I'm back to that first line again. Now when we lay this first piece of fabric on, here's our stitching line. We want it facing right side up. And I want to be about 1/4 of an inch past on this side of that stitching line. But you want to make sure that it covers over there. So you're just going to lay your piece underneath and have it overlap that line by about that much. Just like that. So that's how it goes. I'm going to go ahead and tape it down. And let's stitch that line again. Now it looks like I got my fabric a little long on this side, but that's okay. You can trim that shorter if you want to, or you can just leave it. Depends on whether you can see through your fabric or not. I'm going to trim mine because I can see through the fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the hoop and trim that piece. Okay, so this is what it looks like, still in the hoop, when you're done stitching that. Now I'm going to put it back in. Okay, we're going to stitch that line one more time. So I've gone ahead and backed up to that first stitch, and now we're going to lay our next piece of fabric face down on top of that piece of fabric, and make sure that you lay it so that the bottom edge of it is even with the bottom edge of the fabric that you just sewed. Just like that. Now let's go ahead and sew that line. All right, so now you can kind of see what's going on. If I remove the tape, actually, let's see if I can just do it while it's in the hoop. Then you're going to fold it over, see? I'm going to take this out, I'm going to press that flat, and then I'm going to sew the next line. All right. Pressed nice and flat. I'm going to go ahead and sew the next line and then trim it like I did the first one. All right, taking it out to trim it. And we're going to want to stitch that line again. So back your machine up to that stitch again. Okay, backed up and ready to stitch that line again. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take our middle piece of fabric and do the same thing we just did with the last one, okay? So I'm going to lay it on there and stitch it down. Okay, ready to stitch it. Now you'll probably say, you didn't tape that down. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. If you're not going to tape it down, watch your fingers. All right, take it out, flip it over, press it, put it back in. Stitch the next line. Take it out, trim it, lay your next piece across. And don't forget to back up to the same stitch you just did. Sometimes it helps to do it after so you know you did it. All right, got another striped piece lined up and I'm ready to sew. All right, last one. Take it out, flip it, press it, put the last piece on. Okay, I fibbed. Stitch it first, then put the last piece on. Okay, trim it. Okay, last piece on, stitch it out. Take it out and press it. Don't put it back in yet because we got something else to do. Okay, this is what it looks like on the back. So I want you to flip your hoop over and look at the back of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a little piece of ribbon, fold it in half, and I'm going to tape it on the inside and the outside, the top and the bottom, to the heart. Just like that. All right, so now we're going to put the back on it. So let's get our piece of red fabric, and I'm going to lay that and tape it down over the top of the heart so it completely covers it. Like so. Okay, now we're going to flip it over, put it back in the machine, and stitch out the outline, which is our blanket stitch. Now, if you need to tape any edges down, please do. If you can babysit it with your fingers and not sew over your fingers, kudos to you. Done. Well, almost done. Cute. All right, let's take it out of the hoop, and we're going to use our pinking shears. We're going to cut all the way around it. Don't cut your little ribbon loop. And finished. So cute. I didn't make you watch me cut it out because my pinking shears have seen better days, and they're not easy to use. I was going to say also, if you would rather put your tab on afterwards, you could just tack it down with the tack down stitch, or just sew across it, or put it on later. You don't have to put that on there if you don't want to. It's kind of hard to cut around, but it comes out cute. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little lesson, and I hope that you have a great Valentine's Day. Bye-bye.